Hello and welcome back to the channel. We're doing a box today. It's been a little while, but I'm glad to get back on it. This one we are doing is from TryHackMe and is the Profiles room. And this one we get to use one of my favorite tools, Volatility. Now real quick, on my setup, I did not have it installed, and if you do not either, he gives a link here to this article by Sean Whalen on how to install it. It does go over installing Volatility 2 and 3. I would recommend doing both, and it's pretty straightforward. All you need to do is just make sure you got these dependencies, and you will need Python 2 and Python 3 for this, but on Kali you should have both. And then just copy each line individually from here and install them, and it'll get you up and running. One thing to note, down where it says PyCrypto right here, that package has been deprecated. I don't know if it's just they stopped working on it completely, but there is another package called PyCrypto Dome. I'll leave a note down in the description about it. Install that instead there, and everything will work just fine. And then he goes over how to make sure you have the path in the local bin, which actually let me show you mine. .local/bin. So you can see here I've got vol2, vol3. When you get these installed using his pathway, I think it installs them as Volatility 2 and Volatility. So I tend to like to rename them to this shorter version with the 2 and the 3, so it helps keep them apart. That's just a personal preference thing. But yeah, I won't go over this. It's pretty straightforward. Like I said, just copy and paste and I'll get you installed and good to go. So back to the room. We have a task file to download, which I've got right here. And that's what we're going to be tasked with getting our answers out of. Now, the problem is that Volatility uses what's called profiles to look through the memory files to find things, to know what to look for, and how to categorize everything. This one, if we, what was it? Banner, that's right. If we run it, and this is how you can find out what type of image you're working with and stuff, and what OS it uses. Once it runs this analysis here, which shouldn't take too long, there we go, now we're seeing it. You can see here we're using a Linux kernel 5.4.0.166 and using Ubuntu 20.04.2. So the problem is that Ubuntu version, there's not a profile made for Volatility by default. So that's the first step of this room before you get to answering questions, is actually how do you make a profile? And that's where this other article that I stumbled across, because I actually not had to do that before, is over here. And I'll leave a link to it down below. And this guy has some other interesting articles if you want to take a look around. Pretty much, he starts out like what we did there with Volatility 3, grabbing the banner. Okay, so we're going to start by going through this. I've already got this cloned locally, but you just run these to download the Volatility foundations. And we need to be in here. So we'll just open up a terminal in here. Now this one, paste that in. If I can remember how to do the paste command. But before we hit enter, we need to change this section right here, because this is referring to what version of the OS. No, it's the version of the kernel, my bad. So we got 5.4.0-166-generic. Alright, and that's pretty simple and done. Then we get to run Docker. Now, if you don't have Docker installed, take a moment to go install it and then come back. We're not going to go over that here, so Docker is pretty straightforward to get up and running. So, just do the 20.0.4, and for mine, it's already got all that stuff pulled down, so it's able just to load it and go, but for you, it may take a few minutes for everything to pull down. Okay, so then we'll just copy this, and one trick with copying on his page, because he has these little convenient little click to copy things, and it doesn't always work for me. So if you highlight what you need, and before you release the left click, hit your Control C. and then that allows you to get it copied over. So all this is doing is running the update on the image, and then we're going to install a couple of things. We're going to install the actual kernel that we need. So we need to go over here and change these to match ours. Okay, so once you got the image numbers there changed to the correct one, we hit enter. It'll run through, and of course on mine it should already have these. Oh, okay, it's gonna have to install, so I will come back once this is done. Okay, so that's finally done. Next thing we need to do is change into the volatility directory on the image. Let's do that. And as you see here, we're going to run make, and then we'll zip up. First, let me actually type it without anything there. Alright, so that doesn't take too long, it's pretty quick. And then we'll just take this, paste. Of course, the two things we need to change are the image number and the kernel number over here. Hit enter. There we go. So now if we list out, there we go. We've got a zip file. We'll just hit exit to exit out of the Docker. There we go. So now we're back on our system. If you look, we've got Ubuntu right there. Okay, so now we're going to take this, we're going to right click and cut. And I had to do a search real quick because I forgot exactly where it was buried, but it's this third one right here. We need to go inside the .locallib python 2 and go down this rabbit hole. So to do that from here, we'll just go to our home directory, come up in, type in .local, and then as you can see we get down into these packages a little bit easier this way. Volatility, there it is. Plugins, overlays, Linux, and you can see I've already got it in there. Alrighty, so that was probably one of the longer parts of this video. And just to show you real quick, we do alt info, grep, if I can spell Ubuntu. You'll see right there is that image that we made. So that's what we're going to be using. So copy this. You'll see why in just a second. So for the first question, this is the command we're going to need to run. Volatility tool -f, pointing to the file that we're wanting to search, linux.mem, and then -- profile equals Linux. You know what, let me go ahead and make that a little bit bigger there. That's the Linux image name that we copied. And then this is the command we want to run, Linux bash. This is going to look through that mem file and search for any bash command information. So it's going to take a few minutes, so I'll cut back to when it's returned. Alright, so here's the output. And I'm going to have this little section up here blocked off since it's got the answer to the first two questions. First one is, what's the clear type password of the root user, which should be self-evident in the command section over here. Second one is, what is the timestamp of the database that was accessed, and it just wants this first portion here before the UTC. The third question is asking us, what's the MD5 sum of the malicious file? Well, what malicious file? Well, as we can see here, he switched to root, then he ran a wget command, downloaded the shell.c, and outputted it as this pkexecc. That's the file it is talking about. And then for that, We need to come back up here to this. I don't know why I removed Linux. And we will use the Linux enumerate files command, and we will grep that file. Now let this run, and I will come back as soon as it's finished. Alrighty, let's hit Control-C to stop that. It'll take a second. This is the file it's looking for. And what we need is this right here. So once the pipeline breaks, come on, there it goes. What we can do now is come back here, and we can actually extract this file. That is there we go. We use the -I, give that hex code, and then do the -O for output, and that's supposed to be a capital O if I remember right. Okay, as you can see, we've got the executable now in our file there. So for the MD5 sum, we'll just type this. Of course, I've got that blocked out. And the next question was asking about the IP address and port number of the malicious actor. And this one we're not going to have to get too complicated. We'll just use the string command. Let that run. Maybe scroll back up. Maybe you notice it doesn't have the port number. So for that, we're going to go back to our volatility tool. There we go. Let's clear this out. And we're going to use the netstat tool, which is really cool because it'll actually look through all of the network information that's captured in the image like your normal netstat tool and actually be able to print it out. And we want to grep that IP address. Of course, I will hop back once this is finished. Alrighty, so I'm pretty much going to have everything in the center here blurred out, but this has gone through. You can see this is our machine, and then the attacker's IP, and then the port number is obvious which one it's referring to. Alright, so the next thing is wanting the full path of the cron job and its inode, and then it's wanting to know what's inside the cron job, are our last two questions. So for this, we will go back to our enumerate files option. There we go. We're just going to replace this with cron, and we'll let that run. Alright, so here we are back. I've got the section with the answer blurred out, but it'll be the one that ends in the word root. That's what it's looking for. And the number to the left of it, that's its inode number. So when you put it in, you'll have to reverse that path and the number. And then for us, we want to find out what it says inside of it. So we'll come over here and grab this. And we will go use the find file command from earlier. We're just going to change that to root. And let this run do its thing, and then we'll have the file. Alright, we're back. So see, we've got the root file here. And to find out what's inside, we just cat it, and there's the last answer. Alright, thank you for watching this video, my little walkthrough of the profiles room. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned some things from it. Definitely enjoyable time using volatility tools, absolutely love them. And for those of you who've seen my other videos, I am actually using the Kali toggle door on my Proxmox server for this. It's kind of neat having my quote-unquote own attack box here at my house. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you next time.